Welcome to the Falling Flat podcast
with Aaron. What's up, guys?
Introduce yourself.
So my name is Aaron. You don't get to know my last name
because
we're on the internet. How old am I? 29. I just turned 29 in February 28th. Okay. Almost a leap year baby.
Yeah.
People bother me about that all the time. I'm just your average guy who does some not so average things.
Yeah.
I like to hold myself to that standard. It's like, I don't want to be someone that's noticed, but I would like to do cool things as much as possible.
So let's talk about how we met.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to help me out with that story because just in general, I don't do good at recollecting stories, recalling stories.
So I knew who you were because we were in high school marching band together.
Yeah, marching band's where it starts. Man.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in marching band.
I knew of you. I never cared for you or talked to you.
You don't have to say it that aggressively.
It's true. Until I started doing drum corps. And then after that, I found out you lived like right near me. And then I got to know your sister and then you. Away. Yeah. And and then that's how we met.
Yeah.
And we became buds.
Yeah. I know the story itself is honestly not that convoluted. But I did find it interesting how we did become friends because I'm a person that's very much involved with music and marching arts. So through high school, since we're talking about that, through high school, I spent a lot of time just focusing on my own skills, like just becoming a better musician. At the time when we were doing that thing we call drum corps, I was transitioning.
That.
Yeah, we'll get there. Whole stories. But I was transitioning into becoming a drumline member. When I was in my marching band, I was only allowed to do low brass, which is like the lower voices of the band. And my band director, when I wanted to play drums, he was like, "You're not doing that. Like, you're not letting you do that." So I just took it upon myself to practice and find friends that were close to me that also enjoyed drumming the same way. So I spent so much time practicing drumming that I really didn't care too much about the social aspect about it. So I think really the only reason we became closer when it came to drum corps was because of that like locality thing. Because I was driving, it was me and my older sister, and then another friend that was in the group, and then you ended up joining that carpool as well. And so literally just through sharing the same space, locality, understanding that we were in the same groups and we cared about like skill level, we cared about actually like being good at the thing. That's where we started getting to know each other better.
Yeah, I was a woodwind.
Yeah, when you started.
And then during drum corps, learning brass and shit, that was tough.
Yeah,
that was tough. Those first few weeks were real rough for me, but I did put the work in.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you learned your instrument, did you feel like you were the one that put in the work, or was like you were using like YouTube videos and assistance
both
from the teachers that were there?
I'd say both.
Okay.
So like whenever I put on music on YouTube, I'd buzz because buzzing was just tough for me because I've never done something like that before. So I was always used to woodwind where you just blow. But buzzing, that shit's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
At the time, I could do it now.
Yeah.
But
especially if you're not used to using the muscles. It's like, okay, well, I have to figure this out.
So I'd give myself any excuse to buzz.
Nice.
And
nice.
And that's how I got better at that. I wouldn't say I'm any good, but I'm decent enough.
It's that work ethic, man.
Yeah.
It's the work ethic.
Yeah. Because learning new skills and shit, that was cool. But yeah, drum corps was the whole marching band shit was something. Yeah, you were I think at the time you were a section leader.
I was a section leader.
No, you weren't.
For the marching band?
Yeah. Oh wait.
By the time I was doing drum corps, I was.
No, not drum corps, marching band.
Yeah, but so by the time I was involved with drum corps,
because by the time I joined in, it was your last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
As a senior in high school. Yes. So my sophomore year was the first time I had like a section leader position. I was lieutenant of the low brass, which caused so much drama back at the time. Of course, high school drama is stupid. But the short of it is like no one really gets like section leader positions when you're a sophomore. Like I had been in the marching band for a couple of years, but I definitely felt like I had more musical experience than the other people there, and I think the band director and the other technicians had noticed the same thing. So when they announced me as a lieutenant, like it caused mad beef with one of the seniors that was in the group.
Yeah.
And that he had left, and I'm just like, yo, all I want is this section to be
he
good.
got so bitter he
got mad bitter, yeah, because he was like gunning to be captain.
Yeah.
He wasn't good enough to be captain, and then when he didn't get lieutenant, he was like actually pissed off about it. And I'm just like, bro, just play your music.
Yeah.
Just be good, enjoy your time, because it's a high school activity. Like you really don't need to be adding stress and extra drama to the thing. Yeah. It's not necessary.
I'd say that whole marching band was full of drama.
Yeah.
I only played 2 years, and drama wise it was real rough. It was real rough.
Yeah, you really have to be careful like who you were talking to, because
not everyone's your friend.
I mean, I'm gonna say it was mostly the girls, and I know you said that in the past podcast. It was most of the girls that were like, they weren't starting the beef, but they were okay with letting it stir up, continuing to talk about it instead of like focusing on the task at hand. But that's neither here nor there, and I'm not here to shit on anyone either. Girls, if you guys are watching this, I'm not gonna say any names, but you are still my friends. Like, I hold you dear to my heart. But just know that you guys were the ones to be talking. So after my sophomore year, once we got to junior year, I transitioned to being the section leader for low brass, which is instruments would include like the trombone, the baritone, and then tuba. I think that's it. Yeah, trombone, baritone, tuba. I think at the time my section was probably like 13 people, which is a great number. And shout out to my lieutenant. Can I say her name?
If you want.
Yeah, shout out to my lieutenant Amaryllis, because she was the one that was really stern about like the discipline, and just telling people like, hey, this is where you stand, this is where you got to do. When it came to my job, I was just like, hey, I'm focused about the music. Like, let's know how to play this stuff. Let's play well and let's sound good. But without her, I feel like even now, like I'm a teacher now, I feel like I'm still not that great with like classroom management stuff and discipline. And so without her, I know the whole section probably would have been a mess. And then making it to my senior year, I was finally able to transition to drumline. And there was more beef there. Yeah, because the band director didn't want me. He wasn't allowing me to be in the drumline. As you can see with like my section leader positions the 2 years prior. But like all I cared about was playing drums. Like I just wanted to be good at that specific thing. And so I was just working on my own, and then finally they allowed me to be in drumline my final year, my senior year. And that caused beef too, because as they were picking the section leaders for that section, they really wanted to make me a captain. And I'm just like, bro, I have not even been in the section. What are you talking about?
So why were you
someone else almost quit because of that too.
Why were you so fascinated with the drumline?
It's
two different positions.
Where does it start?
Brass, and now it's drumline.
I would say that's honestly a convoluted question. Let's see how well I can answer it. I would say it really starts from my dad, like being a musician. Back then, I don't remember the specific year. Let's say 2007, 2006 was when I really started loving drums. But even prior to that, my dad has always had a music business in the house. And as we were growing up, he was teaching myself and my sisters. I have one older sister, one younger sister, as well as our cousins. He was teaching us music theory, and then we would take piano lessons as well. I think it was like a 30-minute class. It was either 30 or an hour for both, and they would happen on Saturdays. So I'd lose like Saturday morning time, and we'd all sit in a small room with like 6 of us, and we'd be doing activities for music theory. At the time, it sucked. And I think once I was old enough to realize that it was becoming a hassle, I chose not to do it anymore. I do regret making that decision, because man, I'd be a different musician now if I stayed with it. But all that to say, just the early start for having like higher knowledge of music and being exposed to it earlier on, just let me see and experience music differently. So We had a drum set in the house. I was definitely intrigued by the drum set itself. My dad doesn't really play drum set, but it was there. It was fully set up. So I just took it upon myself to be like, hey, I'm just gonna use that. So I started learning like metal grooves, and like specifically one band that one of my friends was really into, Avenged Sevenfold.
Great band.
Very good band. Their melody writing is on point. Not so much anymore, but in the past. Their older stuff, definitely great. So one of my friends, his name was Gary, he pushed me to listen to Avenged Sevenfold, and I really enjoyed it. And so that was my gateway into learning how to play drum set, just spending time reading tabs online, which is like the easier way to read the drum set music without actually knowing how to read real music. Just reading those tabs and practicing that stuff on my own. And I remember it was like some random time I was going through my dad's equipment in the back, and I noticed this like octagon shaped thing, and I'm just like, yo, what is this?
Yeah.
And so the more I pay attention, now we're transitioning to like 8th grade when I started doing the marching band. The more I pay attention and seeing the drumline people play, I noticed that was a drum pad. I was like, that's what that thing is for. So once I made the connection of like, oh, that's a drum pad, they use that to practice without making sound. I was like, oh, I have one of these myself. I can practice way more. Now that I have this resource that doesn't bother people as much. So just starting at 8th grade, like as much as I was a brass player, I always paid attention to the drum line. I would always listen back. If people were not giving me information when we were in rehearsal, I would literally like turn around and just start watching the drum line. And if I couldn't do that because I was gonna get yelled at, I would just like use my ear, point my ear towards the drum line and be like, okay, what are they actually playing? Like, that's kind of cool. And so I would
pick up on all the rhythms that they were playing.
I had enough musical knowledge to be able to actually follow the flow of all the rhythms instead of it being like, oh, that's just cool to listen to. I was really understanding what they were playing, to the point where I would like sing it to myself as they were playing and stuff. It honestly just made the whole musical experience just more enjoyable, because instead of like me playing my own thing and then all this other noise happening behind me, I knew how everything corresponded, and so it just felt better.
Okay. So it wasn't as segmented, it was just more like,
for me, especially now, I guess we'll talk about what I do now. But for me, it definitely wasn't like, oh, I just learned my part and then everything else is separate and then it just comes together by itself. I was always the type of person to hear my part and understand how it fits with the other voices within the band. Whether I was actually trying to understand the stuff that was happening or I was trying to enjoy myself. All right. There's a lot to be said about understanding music and how things, or how the parts really correspond with each other.
And then with the drum line, when you were in the drum line, you mentioned that because they chose you to be captain, another person was almost going to quit. It was I want to say the word traumatic. Like as a senior, because I'm just like, I want this band to be good, and I don't want to throw my friends under the bus. But like it literally got to the point where it's like we were talking to the band director, we were talking to the principal about the thing. Like all the seniors that were about to be moving up to be the senior year. We all had to have multiple conversations about, okay, how do we remedy this situation? No, that's crazy. It got up to the principal.
It's stupid. Yeah, it was stupid.
No, that's blown out the proportion.
It was very much blown out of proportion. I would say, like, honestly, it definitely could have all been avoided. Even now to this day, I struggle with conflict, and I kind of just let people do what they want to do. And I know, like, as a senior, like, I'm not really gonna talk above like my band director. Like, he's supposed to be the person that like know all end all. So if he's saying something, like, I'm not really trying to argue. But that was one of the situations where I should have took the conflict by the reins and be like, this makes no sense. It's my first year being on the drum line.
Like, actually put your foot down.
I should just be a member, and that's it. I know this is the part that complicated it. It was the fact that I was already involved in drum corps. Like I was already doing drum corps on a harder instrument, and the music was harder than the high school marching band stuff. So I know they took that stuff into consideration. Like, okay, if he's going out of his way to do this musical experience outside of school, then he's pretty much going to be responsible enough to handle a section.
So wait, during drum corps, you started out on drums, or did you go to brass?
Yeah, first? When I joined drum corps, it was 2013. I ended up joining in 2013. Like I was really involved by the time it got to late April, May. And I had joined this drum corps called Bushwhackers.
Shout out
to Bushwhackers. Spent 3 years there. It was a really good time. I had started out on what's called tenor drums. So the heaviest drums in the drum line, and it was my first experience actually like carrying a drum and playing a drum for longer than 30 minutes. So just that experience, like them knowing that I was capable of doing that.
Wait, I was gonna ask you, don't you think that's kind of impressive with your first year?
Well, yeah, it's impressive, but like.
And you've never, played drums within marching band, and then you went straight to drum corps.
I
don't know.
If we're talking about, you're not wrong. It is impressive, but if we're talking about
but it just shows you have like potential and stuff.
Yeah. So. But it was my last year. If we're talking about putting people in the right places in terms of
like, so do you think they put pity on you? Is that what you're saying?
Nah, I think if
to get section leader or
I think captain? They were only thinking about the musical aspect and not like who's gonna manage the students the best, who's gonna be the best coach, who's gonna be the best motivator.
Yeah.
Because that was not me by any means. That was not me. It's literally still to this day that is not me. But yeah, like some people are better at things. Like I was the one that was decent at music. And then there were better people to be put in that captain position than me. Yeah.
You made it though.
I made it though.
You made it.
But enough about drum corps marching band. I guess we'll probably get back to that.
There's a whole lot
to
talk about that.
If you guys know me, like I spent a lot of time. Well, first of all, I just spent a lot of time thinking about music. That's like the only thing I do. So since I didn't explain it in the first place, I am a music teacher. We live in. You told them where we live in terms of states.
From
right?
Elizabeth, New Jersey.
But you told them where we live in state-wise. They already know.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey.
So we're from New Jersey. I'm a music teacher in New Jersey. And outside of that, I teach marching bands. And the next thing that I'm working on right now is I'm getting a master's in film scoring. So literally everything that I do is related to music in some way, whether it's the teaching aspect of it or whether it's the creative aspect of it. So almost all of the conversations that I have revolve around music. I'm personally surprised that the friends that I have haven't got like annoyed by it or pissed off. Like maybe you have.
No, I mean you haven't talked. You don't really talk about it like that.
Okay, good.
I didn't know any extent.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I feel like anytime.
But I also think I think it's cool. It's something you're passionate about. Yeah. Why the fuck not?
Yeah. Why be afraid to speak about it? That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But yeah, the thing that I'm doing right now is working towards this film scoring master's degree.
Well, didn't you also do game scoring?
Yeah, so I was gonna get into that. Yeah. So I'm doing this program, Berklee Online. Basically, it's a division of Berklee School of Music, but it's all online. Me having a full-time job as a music teacher, like obviously there's not really a place where I can go to Boston and do the studies. And I didn't really find. The only other film scoring program that I found that I could do was like NYU film scoring, but the price was just way too expensive. To the point where it's like I didn't feel like either I wasn't gonna pay it out of pocket.
It wasn't justifiable.
Yeah, it wasn't justifiable. Yeah. I don't think my school was gonna pay the amount per credit that they were asking for.
Yeah.
So I stopped worrying about that program. But I had started the Berklee Online program. I started with certificates. So during COVID, as everyone does stuff during COVID.
Not me.
Well, I'm surprised. Well, I guess there's a lot to say about stuff being done during COVID. I guess let me just talk about it. So COVID was a funny time. 2020, of course. 5 years ago, thank God. I'm so happy. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. Like, COVID, obviously COVID is a checkpoint for everyone. Like, you can't forget that time. You can't forget what you did. You can't forget how it made you feel.
COVID's a time skip. It's 2019 and now we're in 2025.
2025. I forget about that. Sorry.
That's just time skip.
But no, like I find myself always using it as a checkpoint and just going back to like, oh, things were different before COVID and now we're past it.
Yeah.
But it's been literally 5 years since 2020, and I'm so happy. Like, I don't like when the world moves slowly. So seeing that it's been 5 years since that like tumultuous time, it's like, okay, thank God. Like, it's over and like things are getting back to normal or new normal, whatever you want to call it. But at the time, during 2020, that was I think I was in substitute teaching. That was like my actual occupation at the time, and I was doing that for about a year and a half. And I was in a long-term sub position as a vocal teacher, covering for one of the colleagues of mine, or a colleague of mine, his wife. She was going through labor. She had gone through labor, and she was taking her maternal leave. And so I'm like, okay, I know who these people are. If I need anything, I'm gonna get decent feedback. So I chose that position. And then, interestingly enough, by the time it was getting to like January, February, I was like really doubting myself because again, it came back to the classroom management part of things. Like, I had the music knowledge, but I could not manage that classroom. Like, I feel like the kids that were in there, they just want to hang out.
I mean, that's everybody during substitute teaching. Like, you ever had a substitute teacher and you're like, okay, we can just fuck around?
Yeah, but some of them are good though. Well, yes, and yes. Some of the teachers are good about it, where it's like, hey, here's the work that your teacher has given to you. We're gonna do it. And if you cause me any problems, I'm just gonna take you to the principal's office, write you up. It's as simple as that. Like, my dad does that because he's a substitute teacher now. And he does that all the time. Like, he really doesn't play when it comes to discipline. And the students that he teaches, on average, they know that. They see him and they're like, oh, we're gonna get the substitute that requires us to work. Which is
usually
fine.
That's not the case.
Well, yeah, usually it's not the case. Usually you see a sub and it's like, oh, we're gonna have a good time. Yeah. When I was doing stuff other than music, ooh, my hair is a mess. When I was doing stuff that's other than music, like teaching the regular academic classes, I thought the same way. This is like, okay, I'm gonna give the work that the teacher has prescribed to you guys, but I'm not gonna stress myself out. If you don't do the work, that's on you. Like, your grade's gonna get affected, and I'm not even gonna be teaching you tomorrow. So you guys can worry about that yourself. My MO was always just like, here's the work. I'm not trying to stress you out. You don't need to stress me out. Let's just do it and then move on with our lives. But when it gets to the music classroom, it's a little different because they have, I mean, as far as I understood, they would still have to do a concert at the end of the year. So that's presenting their stuff to friends, families, administrators. And considering I was a musician myself, or a music educator myself, I wanted to take that stuff seriously, but I found that I still struggled with the discipline part of stuff. All that to say, it got to the point where I was feeling uncomfortable with how I was dealing with the class, and I was hoping for something that would like relieve that stress. And then we got to the end of February, transitioning to March, and basically
still in 2020.
Yeah, in 2020.
Okay.
Basically, the administrators were on the loudspeaker, saying like, hey, you guys are going to have an extended break. We don't really know what's going on, but we're gonna continue instruction over computers and such. But considering I was a substitute teacher, none of that mattered to me because I'm like, this is not my actual job. So basically I was relieved. By the time the schools had closed in early March, I was just relieved of my job. And so, COVID hit, and then the world shut down. And it was kind of crazy. But interestingly enough, because of some friends, my time with COVID was very limited in terms of how much time I spent inside. Like, I know there are people that were like, oh yeah, I was locked down for like a whole year, getting depressed and getting anxiety. But my situation for COVID was completely different. Like, I was only locked down for, what was it? March, April, May, June. I was only locked down for 4 months. And at the time, I did have a girlfriend who we were willing to go to each other's house. So I still had the opportunity to interact with people. But once June hit, I ended up working at Amazon as a delivery driver. And so I spent about 2 years working at Amazon. And during that time, this is where the story wraps up.
Yeah.
During that time was when I decided, okay, I have all this free time because all I'm doing is working. Amazon, we only had to work 4 days a week on average. Okay. You could take overtime, you could take extra days. But on average, I only work 4 days a week. And the entire shift itself is 10 hours, but they let you leave early if you finish your route early. So I would always finish my route early within like the 8.5 hour range. So I was less tired than I should have been. Mm-hmm. So after doing Amazon for, I think it was about like 5-6 months, I was like, okay, I can handle this job. I'm kind of bored. I want to better myself and learn more about music. So that's when I decided, okay, let me look to see if I can do some online programs. And that's when I found the Berklee Online program. So I wasn't really ready to do.
So you did Berklee for both gaming and okay.
I wasn't ready to do like a master's or any other degree because I had my degree in music education, and I felt like I still wanted to do music teaching, but at the same time, like I always enjoyed writing music. Yeah. I always enjoyed composition, and I also really love animated stuff like TV shows, movies. I love that. It's a really good medium. And so my thought process was, hey, I really like animation and I really like writing music. So we could just, put that stuff together. Mm-hmm. I think at the time too, like we were playing a lot more video games together.
Like during COVID?
Yeah, well, at least like prior to COVID. Because I didn't really play video games during high school. Like that wasn't really my thing. Yeah. But when I got to college, hang out with you more. Yeah. Spent a lot of time playing video games and paying more attention to the music within video games. So all those experiences just led me to wanting to learn more about film scoring and just writing for different mediums. Mm-hmm. So when I did Berklee Online, I signed up for 2 certificate programs. The first one was film scoring, writing music for films. And then the second one was video game composition, so writing music for video games. They are similar, but the biggest difference between the two is that when you're playing video games, obviously it's more dynamic. Yeah. The systems that you have to use in terms of implementing the music is different. Like you have to have like some type of basis in computer science and coding, which I did not do well.
So you did learn all that during?
There was one specific program called WWise, which it's basically like the place where you implement all the music. Mm-hmm. And so it's very basic coding. Like you have to know simple terms like if and, mm-hmm. all those conditional statements. If something happens in the game, let's say you transition into, let's say you're walking through a forest and then it starts raining. Yeah. There needs to be a transition in the music that's appropriate to what's happening on the screen. In the same way, like let's say you're going through the forest and all of a sudden a boss shows up, or you hit a boss battle. Like you have to have the music in the system, and then the code has to be correct to where the music is going to transition into like that boss music.
So did you only do music, or is like sound effects too, like Foley and whatnot?
There was,
because that's also a thing in like movies and
so
stuff.
The Foley itself is honestly like a different job completely.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So just music itself.
It's weird because I can explain it this way. When you're starting, and this is stuff that I had experienced through the certificate, when you're like doing indie stuff, mm-hmm. and you're on a small team, the expectation is you're gonna end up doing a lot of that stuff. You're mm-hmm. gonna do the music, you're gonna do the sound design, you're gonna do the Foley, you're gonna do the editing, you're gonna do the music editing too. But when you get into bigger projects, especially like let's say if you're working with AAA games, like all 4 of those things are completely separate fields. Okay. And then they have people under them mm-hmm. that's handling all those different aspects. Yeah. So for the experience and understanding understanding that all those things are embedded in like video game composition, video game music, yes, I had to do all that stuff.
Okay.
But the main goal of the certificate was, hey, learn how to write music for video games. So it was just a little bit of Foley, a little bit of sound design, but nothing like super heavy. Yeah. I still, to this day, like I still kind of struggle with sound design. Yeah. If anyone wants to tell us when I put socials out there, if anyone wants to give info on sound design, I'll take it. I'll absolutely take it.
I mean, there's websites for that.
Yeah, but even then, like I still.
But like, are you talking about creating Foley itself?
Yeah, creating and having your own like sound libraries and making sounds that are specific to you as a creator. Okay. And then specific to the project that you're working on. Yeah. I know over the years, the more that I've learned about sound design, I ended up buying like sound libraries, basically. So we have Foley artists, you have recording artists. All those people will go out to find, not necessarily find, but it's like record sound so they can have their own sound library. Like for example, you could take two people, like an engineer and the person that's actually going to record, and they can go out to a lake, and there's hundreds of sounds that you can record. You can record the ambiance. You can record ambiance during the day, ambiance during the night, ambiance while it's raining. You can record, okay, what sound does the water make when it's calm. You could do swooshes in the water. You could throw rocks in the water. You could throw rocks at different velocities. Yeah. And all those things, like all those different variables are important because they exist when you're playing a video game. Like if you're walking through water, it's not just a single footstep. You're probably having at least 4 variations of a footstep so that it sounds natural. So yeah, it's just very involved. It's not something where it's like, oh, I can just download something off YouTube and put it into the project and then we're done. It's a lot more involved than that. And I wasn't ready for the involvement. I was so focused on the compositional side of things, I was not ready for the involvement. Yeah.
But I guess going back, drum corps.
Oh, we jumping back.
I guess we'll jump back because we jumped ahead a lot.
It's okay.
But yeah. No, it's
cool. But you know me though. I'm the type of person when I talk, I go on tangents.
You go. Yeah.
I don't mind.
No,
I don't
cool.
mind going on tangents. Especially like the people you talk to. If you have the right bond, like you'll just go. Keep the conversation going. But yes, drum corps. What would you like to know? I spent so much time in drum corps. I'm like,
nah, it's cool.
Sometimes I love talking about it, but then I'm like, dude, I feel like
there's a lot of history with you though. You started doing this since 2013.
Yeah, 2013 was my first year.
What? I mean, it's been 10 plus years.
Yeah. So. Oh wow! I guess yeah. So drum corps has had an immense effect on significant effect on all the teaching I've done, all the creating that I've done. So I started drum corps in 2013 with the Bushwhackers. I spent 3 years with the Bushwhackers. Basically, it's like at the time it was an all-age corps. They don't use those terms. Well, yes, they do. Now they use all-age.
DCI,
but it was DCA, Drum Corps Associates.
Yes.
Essentially, still all-age.
Yeah.
Now they've changed the name to DCI All Age. Now that they're under the umbrella of Drum Corps International, organization. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. For the people that have no idea what we're talking about, I'm so sorry.
It's professional.
I'm sorry to make it
professional marching band where you don't get paid to do anything, but you have to pay in order to participate.
Yeah, so
backwards.
I'll talk about that. So, oh man, in my experience of being a music teacher, I don't really push people to do drum corps unless they are a musician, unless they really care about music, or they're gonna go into music.
Especially with fees now, like tuition fees are ridiculous. Yeah, because
it's like $6,000 at least for a summer. Like I literally do not tell people, and my music educator friends are probably gonna hate me for saying this, but
not be honest.
No, I mean growing up in a town where it's like the people that are around us, like, we're not rich. It takes a lot of effort to try to get that type of money to do one season. So there's nothing in my mind that's like $6,000 for one summer, especially if you're not going into music education. There's no reality where that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you were gonna do it one time, it's like, okay, you know, spend the year, do your fundraising if you really want that experience, what it feels like to play at the highest level and tour around the country doing performances for other people that love the activity. Maybe you could do it one time.
However, hold on. I have a comment I've always wanted to say.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with you, but also if you create a GoFundMe, which is GoFundMes are common within drum corps.
Very common, yes.
If you have your whole tuition fee up on GoFundMe,
yes,
shut up.
Shut up.
Don't stop.
I don't know.
I am discouraging you about that. No, because you should hold some responsibility
on your own. Yeah, if you're gonna decide to do the activity,
you should never put your entire fucking like tuition. That it just not thinking about it. I'm like, it just does not make any sense. Like, nah.
I mean, I think on paper it looks pretty bad. When you ask the people like, hey, what are you doing to fund this thing, they'll probably have answers for you. It's like, oh, I've gotten some assistance for my family, I'm selling some stuff, or I have a job that's gonna bring a little bit of income to help me pay for this thing. But like on paper, all you see is, hey, I'm asking for $5,000, please give me the money.
I would not take you seriously. Back in the day, like I was a lot more naive, but now thinking about it,
well, now that you have your own job, and it's like you're not gonna throw away your own money.
I would never. Hell no. If you're asking for this much, like for drum corps, like fuck that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. Drum corps is so crazy because it's a non-profit thing, but you have to pay so much to be a part of that experience.
I already know we're gonna get flamed in the comments.
It's fine.
For this, but it's fine. It's how I've always felt.
It's whatever, man. There are some things where it's like, okay, the experience is great, but you can't say that the experience is worth $6,000.
Hell no.
Multiple times.
Hell
no. And it kind of sucks because, like, yes, at this point I'm an old head. Like, I aged out. Aging out meaning like I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, once you hit about 21,
22, I aged out in 2017, which obviously it's pre-COVID, pre-inflation. It's a completely different time. So like it's unfair for me to have what 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's unfair for me to have 5 years of experience across different levels, and then 8 years later be like, oh, I would never recommend my students to do this. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, it's just a different game now. It's a different game. It's a different price point. This is where I stand in terms of drum corps. Like I've had minimal conversation about this because it's hard to It's hard to articulate how I actually feel about it. But I know, like in my heart, that I will get to a point where I can recommend drum corps to people if they change the structure of it. Like,
what rule changes do you want?
I think there's not even rule changes. It's like just the overall thing.
Yeah.
I think there's room for them to do less shows. Like you don't need to do 30 shows a season. Which, if you're not doing that many shows, that means you're going to be doing less travel.
So you're talking exclusively about world class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's really where the problem lies. If you're talking about DCI all age, I think like the max point that people are paying is about like $2,500, which honestly, it's still pushing it, but the experience that you get is more worth it than $5,000, $6,000. So when we're talking about like world class, if they shorten the season, because it goes from like mid-May, once college is over, once college is out, all the way to the beginning of August. I know like you have to do spring training in there, but spring training you're paying for housing. Like for the most part, these drum corps are going to colleges. They need multiple fields. They need a stadium they have access to, and they need a large campus because they have to have multiple practice fields. So obviously there's financial stuff that you have to pay for there, and then the tour itself, moving around the country, having to pay for buses, having to pay for staff, like that. Obviously, there's a lot of money there too, and so why not just shorten the season? I don't know what the numbers would be, but like that's one idea. Just shorten the season. You don't have to pay. You don't have to be in one area so long for spring training, and you don't have to tour as long. So that should bring your price down. Should. I'm not a financial person. I don't pay attention to those numbers, so I don't know what they actually are.
Yeah.
But that's my initial thought.
So instead of like, okay.
And then my only other major change is still connected to the spring training thing. It's like, do we really need, is there a way that we could not go 4 weeks of spring training? And honestly, the answer is, drumroll please, make the shows easier. Make the shows easier, honestly. No, because I feel like there are some cores, like they're really going for like the full effect, giant props. Giant props. Their visual is like super intricate. The music is super intricate. You have to spend a lot of time putting those things together. Yes. Like, I get it. It's like, it's this giant art project that you can't just put together in a week. You need a lot of time to do that.
Of course.
But like, if all that time is forcing the activity to cost more, can we make the decision to not go so hard on the design elements? Like, if bringing down the scale of design elements brings the cost down, why wouldn't you make that decision as an educator? You'll get more people to do the activity, and the activity will have more longevity. It'll last longer.
Do you think that way about uniforms as well?
No.
Because now, like, cores don't really keep the same uniforms year after year.
Because they're the only reason that they were able to do that is because it ended up being cheaper to make new uniforms. Because now we have 3D printed uniform. 3D printed. We have, I forgot what the actual term is, but they're printed uniforms on fabric, versus getting like handmade, only like strong material. I know that when they used to have like core specific uniforms that they would reuse for multiple years, like that was actually more expensive than doing like the spandex type uniforms.
Okay.
They put the uniform fee into the students' hands, but
it's usually like $2 to
$250. It was always like that though. When I had March, I think the uniform, it was either $400 or $700. I can't remember the specific price. But the uniform fee was included, so it's just like, okay, I like the way that they're going with the uniforms now.
Okay.
It keeps costs lower. It keeps costs lower. And it allows for just the shows to make more sense. Yeah, better production value of the show, which is better entertainment. That's kind of what we're doing in the first place.
Yeah, I fell off a drum corps years ago.
I mean, drum corps is one of those things, and that's why I don't like talking about it, especially for people that aren't involved with the thing. If you do it and you spend a lot of time in the activity, it's very difficult to let go of your attachment. I would say you're lucky that you didn't spend too much time and you didn't end up doing world class, because like it really does pull you in, and it's hard. It's very hard to let go of the activity itself. Yeah,
I mean, I stopped following it years ago. I don't know. I just get bored. I got bored of it. I missed. It's gonna make me sound like an old head. No, well, yes. But it's gonna also make me sound an old head, like an old head. I just like playing and moving. Yeah. Not all this extra shit.
Nah, man. It's because you're not connected to indoor.
You're right.
You're absolutely. Not connected to indoor. So indoor percussion, indoor guard, indoor winds now.
Yes.
It's a whole different ball game. I think where we are now, like we're trying to put things that are entertaining. We are exploring the idea of creating art pieces. Like it's not just music on the field anymore. It's like, hey, you're having this idea that you want to set up.
I'm not against it. Just letting you know.
Yeah, it's different.
It's just different.
Yeah. It's different. I think for me specifically, I grew up with a dance background. I did acrobatics for 5 years. I did tap for 5 years. Damn. I did ballet. Yeah, my mom put me through a lot of stuff. Yeah. I did do sports, but I spent a lot of time doing dance and music and just creative stuff. So 5 years acrobatics, 5 year taps, 2 years ballet. I think 1 year hip hop. Yeah, 1 year of hip hop and jazz. So having grown up with those experiences, by the time I saw like drum corps by the time I felt drum corps transitioning to more of this like art form where we're gonna be dancing and expressing ourselves differently, I'm just like, okay, well, I already did this as a child. Like, I really have no issue with it. And then having the experience with indoor percussion, like that's even further. It's like, hey, we have this idea of a show, and you have to use the music and the visual to express that idea. All we've done now is we've taken that, instead of it being inside of a gym, which will be a much smaller, intimate space, we've taken it and put it on a football field. Yeah, that's it. But yes, it is different. It is different. It's not.
I'm not hating.
There's no.
It's just.
It becomes much more about the art and the expression.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, hey, I'm achieving this. I'm trying to be a good musician. I'm trying to be good at my physical responsibilities.
But those old shows were cool. There's a lot of iconic shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really care too much. We're opposites in that facet. Okay. I didn't really care too much about the shows that were just like moving and playing.
Yeah.
Like people always talk about Cavaliers, like the Framework show, or I can't even name drop those shows because I really didn't care.
Yes.
I really didn't care.
That's probably
like, even
what their
watching
famous
them
show.
When they show up on clips, they're just like, oh, like the Cavaliers drill is iconic, and I'm just like, yo, it's literally just forms. It's geometric forms moving differently. Like, okay. Yes. That's cool, but look at this music. look at now. Look at how this music corresponds. Look how the music corresponds to this like different type of movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think because of the fact that we're trying to do art pieces now, the music choice is so much more eclectic. Like there's so many more options for how people choose
That's
music.
something I do like.
I appreciate that so much.
Because it would always be annoying whenever core would play just classical music. Yeah. And that shit is boring because you can only do classical in so many different ways versus a lot of contemporary music or that's shit that's not traditional drum corps music is fucking great.
Yeah.
That shit's cool.
Yeah, and it requires like from the writer's perspective, the people that are putting the stuff together, considering it's still like fairly new. Like I want to say, I might be wrong. I want to say Bluecoats were like the first core to really go hard on like, hey, we're gonna do avant-garde music like all the time.
Yeah.
Starting from like, it felt like 2013, 2014 when they did Kinetic Noise, my favorite show. Also my friend Steven, shout out to Steven. That's his favorite show too.
2014, yeah, Kinetic Noise.
2015, my bad, 2015.
Oh wait, 14
Kinetic
was Tilt.
Noise.
Yeah, it's 15.
14 is Tilt. 13 is To Look For America. Another one of my favorite shows, but that's more on the side of like marching and playing.
Yeah.
Less artistic. Yeah, I can't believe I said those numbers wrong. But
cool.
Sorry, Steven, don't hate me. But from that core and from that time frame, since then it's just like, hey, we're gonna do more avant-garde. We're gonna do more avant-garde music. We're gonna do more avant-garde themes, and it's just from the designer's perspective. Like whenever they get to music where they haven't really been exposed to arranging that stuff, it's like a trial and error thing from what I see. It's like, hey, some designers do this really well, and then they change the way that other designers look at it, and some designers don't do so well, and it's just like the show falls flat. It falls flat.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, some people are good at it. Some people are not so much. All that to say, I have no problem with the current state of drum corps in terms of its artistic.
I mean, you're deep into it, so it's cool. Yeah. I think I started falling off 2018, which was my age out year, and I did not march my age out.
Yeah, it's all right, man.
That's cool.
I mean, it comes back to money.
Money is always money thing.
This shit's expensive.
I feel like
we gotta not pretend it's not
that holds
expensive.
back a lot of people for sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, it was fun.
I wonder, is there anything else in drum corps that I would love to talk about? I would love to talk about. Can I talk about it? Of course. There's plenty to say.
I'll talk about my first year marching, which was 2014.
What was that, 7th Regiment?
No.
Or
No.
Oh, 2014 with Bush.
2014, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. First time ever playing a brass instrument, and then learning drill at that level and whatnot, and music. It wasn't that hard looking back, but I mean, at the time, it was pretty hard for me. It's difficult.
Yeah, because it's
higher level stuff,
marching,
and it's just like, it's just you gotta learn shit.
Mm-hmm. There is a learning curve. Yeah, I would say the learning curve is more of just like the pace that you have to learn the show because it's not students anymore.
Yeah,
I think the age range was probably from like 18 to maybe like 30, early 30s.
Well, no, there were plenty of kids,
but not as many as there are now.
Yeah, for sure.
So they did still have the ability to push us more, and not baby feed us.
I was also at the time not physically fit, so I struggled a lot.
I remember
whenever we'd run laps and whatnot, or PT, you know, training, whatnot. That shit sucked at the time because, I wasn't fit at all.
I feel that though.
Yeah.
I think throughout my entire time in drum corps, I didn't take fitness seriously. I didn't take fitness seriously until like a couple of years ago. Actually, was it? I guess we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But I was lucky. I was lucky enough that I was a decent size to where it didn't hurt me. It wasn't painful to be out there running and having to be on the field for 8+ hours per day.
Plus, holding a baritone.
You're right.
That shit is tough for someone who's never done it before.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It's not fun. It's not enjoyable.
I think out of all the shows I have marched, that's probably my favorite concept I've ever marched.
The Resistance.
Yeah, was cool. That was I love that concept.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It was a good design.
It was a good design.
I love how everything flows.
However,
if you guys have no idea what we're talking about, look up Bushwhackers 2014.
Look up.
I don't know if you'll find it online, but it's worth watching.
Yes. Yeah. However, lots of design choices that were kind of questionable, I'll also say.
Yeah.
A lot of changes.
Yeah.
Lots of changes.
Part 3. Part 3 changes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
God.
You can't win them all, dude. That's it. You can't win them all.
But I think concept-wise, probably my favorite show I've ever marched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, because
definitely my favorite Bush
that was
show.
also my I think we didn't really play any classical music, if I remember correctly.
No, we played Muse.
We played rock, Muse. Yeah. We played Bob Dylan.
Oh no, there was one classical piece.
Oh yeah.
I forgot. I never knew what the actual piece was.
I forgot it. Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm, right, for the ballad.
Yeah. Muse twice actually. Yeah.
You're right. For the percussion feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh wait, no,
Closer.
it wasn't.
Closer.
Was it not the same song?
No, different.
Oh, Knights of what?
Sidonia.
You're right.
The
You're right.
first one,
Muse twice.
Yeah.
We played "Fuck These Experts." I forgot what.
Oh, that was some dubstep shit. I was like, whoa.
Fuck These Experts. It was cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was shown that music, initially, so what was he? Program coordinator, Mr. Shaw. Shout out to Mr. Shaw. He was my.
I know he watches these. So
he'll be listening. He was my my choral teacher at the time. So I had the opportunity, like we would talk about drum corps. He was the one that brought me into Bushwhackers in the first place, for my first season in 2013. So realistically, I wouldn't have the drum corps experience I had now, really even the teaching experience that I have now, if he didn't push me to do Bushwhackers in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But that year, going into 2014, that summer, he was talking to me about the design of the show, and then I think there was one instance where I remember he showed me the original song for that percussion feature, "Fuck These Experts."
Yeah.
And I was just like, "What the fuck am I listening to?" First of all,
you didn't think how was it gonna work?
I didn't. I had no idea because that was the first time I was already listening to dubstep because my sister, my older sister, liked dubstep, so I had been exposed to that type of music, but I've never heard dubstep be used in a drum corps context. So I was like, how the fuck? How are you gonna do this? It was great. All the hits were there. All the hits were there. The intensity was there. I understood it, but I was just like, how is this gonna be translated onto the field? I think, in hindsight, now that I'm a creator myself, and I can talk about it and dissect all the music stuff, I think everything I think for the first half of that percussion feature, all the design elements were great. They were actually really good. I liked the drumline writing. I liked the brass writing with like inserts. That was cool. Shout out to Ben Schwartz. Really good wind arranging for that drum corps. Really good. The coordination between brass and batter is really good.
Not the celebrity.
I was not the celebrity.
Not the celebrity.
I was not happy with. I have to be specific about it. I was not happy with the auxiliary percussion in the front ensemble because it just added so much more noise. Like me as a writer now, like I write for high schools. I write for.
Well, at the time, you wrote one of our parade tunes. But
we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
That was still like me learning how to be a writer.
Yeah.
I don't think anything was bad about it. We didn't use it, but like in hindsight, I really don't like.
Yeah, we practiced it. We never used it in public. Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. It was just a chance for me to learn how to be a composer and get my feet wet. But I didn't. Knowing what I know now, I didn't like how the auxiliary stuff in the front ensemble just didn't fit inside the big picture. Like it just felt like stuff that was extra on top of it, and so it just sounded like just noise and extra sound. But yeah, I mean, so that's that first half, and then the second half of it was mostly just like segmented features. I think everything in segmented features were fine. I didn't really have any problems with it. It's like to each their own. Some people design those features really well. Some people are just like, it does its job. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to know about drum corps? What's up, world? We back at it.
Bathroom break over. Continuing on.
All right.
Where did we leave off again?
We were talking about drum corps.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I ended it with saying, like, do you want to know anything else about drum corps?
There's a lot to discuss again because you have so many years of experience.
Yeah.
I have not.
I didn't even finish. See, this is my brain. I didn't even finish talking about the experience. I said, I marched Bushwhackers, and then we just went on a tangent. But let me keep myself straight.
All right.
So, the tangent's already starting. I have to separate my marching experience into two separate worlds. So we have the drum corps side of things, and we have the indoor percussion side of things. Sadly, they do get intermingled, so it feels like it's one long marching arts experience, but they are fairly separate.
Yes.
So, and as far as indoor goes, it's just like, hey, everything happens inside a gym, and it's a different time frame. So instead of being in the summer, where you're doing all the work in the summer, whether it's weekends only or the entire summer, indoor percussion, it is weekends only, and it spans from like auditions would start like mid-October, at least when I was marching, mid-October, where you'd have like one or two things a month. And then once you get to December, that's when you start going every weekend. And then you're pretty much on every weekend all the way up until the middle of April. So it's a different commitment. The physicality and the music stuff is pretty much the same. It's just marching arts. You're doing what would be marching band in a different spot. But yeah, just overall, that's the difference between drum corps and indoor.
Why'd you want to do indoor?
Wait.
Okay.
Don't get me off track. Wait, because I will do it. I will do it.
All right,
so we can't talk about indoor. I love talking about indoor. Drum corps, to end this, my drum corps experience was Bushwhackers for 3 years, 13, 14, 15. Then I was able, thankfully, by the grace of God, I was able to transition to March Carolina Crown, 2016, 2017. Both really good years. 2017, we had a major design team change. I remember when I had March, I was really complaining. Because I thought like the 2016 design team like had their stuff like down pat. It was just a really good program. There weren't really any questions about like what we're doing, how this feels, what we're trying to sell to the audience. But a lot of those questions did arise in 2017. Nonetheless, the final score was the same for both seasons. I think we got third. Yeah, we got third for both those seasons. So like, who cares? Who cares? Like what uncomfortability I felt in terms of like the design team's process. It was still a good season overall. So I aged out in 2017 for drum corps, gives me my 5 years. And then during that time, I was doing indoor percussion. My first experience, which is crazy, we can definitely talk about this. My first experience for indoor percussion was 2015 with this group called Field of View in Pennsylvania. And then I transitioned to do...
Who don't exist anymore.
Rip Field of View, right? And then I transitioned to do Cadets Winter Percussion. Rip Cadets Winter Percussion.
Also don't
2016.
exist.
And then for 2017 and 2018, I March United Percussion.
They still exist.
They still exist, yes. And they're doing pretty well. With all these things, there are design team changes. It's normal. These people who design, like, they have their regular lives. They have their own personal lives. So sometimes you literally just can't continue. You can't continue being a designer. Whether you got removed or whether you stepped away, you don't expect the designers to stay. So all that to say, like, hey, if you're watching now, and you're someone that's in like the new generation of United Percussion, yes, it is a very strong ensemble. When I was there, it was under a different direction, still strong, but I think the total package that they're doing now, it's just a lot more. I feel much more confident watching it, versus what I had experienced when I was marching.
Yeah, but I do remember
what.
So yes, you did age out 2017 crown, and we. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
What?
So yeah, we have a group chat.
Yes, BDB.
Sure,
leave it at that. BDB.
Where you had very choice words to say finals night.
About the finals for what, 2017?
Yes. If you would want me to reveal it.
Yeah, please reveal, because I don't remember. Yeah,
you were basically
is not great.
You were basically shitting on the guard.
The guard? Oh, nah, you don't have to reveal that. Oh man. All right, I guess so.
You're like, they're the reason we're holding us back. We could have been second at least.
I hate to say that, I hate to say that, but I guess
hey,
if I said it,
you want to talk about it.
If I said it, I should stand on business. Nah, I mean,
lock in.
Nah, I do appreciate. I'm gonna come at it from an educational standpoint. Not even education. I'm gonna come at it from a realistic standpoint. I don't blame anyone. Like in the time, like it'd be great to get second. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it'd be great to get second. I don't think the show was designed poorly enough to not get second. Like, there were times when we were learning the show and it's like, yo, this is mad eclectic. Like, this is weird. But by the time we got to the end of the season, like, I was definitely confident in the program that they were putting out there. Like, yeah, it's weird, but it was clean. It was good.
Yes.
And the music was tight. So it's like, okay, well, if you're just basing us on the sheets, then we still have a possibility of being like second. First was not going to happen because you're BD. You can't really do nothing.
It's kind of hard to go against.
Can't
the
really
top
do anything
dog.
about that. But yeah, for me, standing on business, I'm sorry towards the guard people. I will say, thankfully, I never said this to any of you.
You never said this in person, but you definitely had choice words in our group chat.
Because I mean, if you lose, right? You feel like drum corps is one of those things where it's like you're putting your whole self out there. You're putting like all your energy out there. You're there for 3 months. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of emotion built in there. So like if you end up getting to a place where it's like, oh, we were ready to achieve this, but for some reason we didn't make it. Like, as an individual, we tend to look for whatever reason. We tend to look for something to blame. So sadly, the situation with the guard is that they were the ones that had the new design team. They had a brand new design team for the guard. They had a brand new staff for the guard, and a lot of the membership had transitioned to a different corps. They had transitioned to Boston Crusaders.
Yes.
And the more annoying part was seeing how well Boston Crusaders was doing as a guard.
Yes.
Because the corps itself, they were rebuilding. Not rebuilding, but they were climbing. This is part of their ascent, because now they do really well. But back then, not so much. So the core itself was in an ascent, but the guard, if you look just at the sub-caption scores, you saw that the guard was placing top, like first, second, and it's just like, yo, how the fuck? Like I get it, you're taking the instruction and you're taking the children to a whole different place, but how come, like it just wasn't fair. Mm-hmm. It wasn't fair. And so I know, like, definitely just taking my anger out on, I didn't do it on them, thankfully. I was doing it in a group chat.
In our group chat, yes.
But yeah,
very choice words.
Brand new, yeah. Sorry, guys. Brand new staff, brand new design team, a newer nucleus of members. Like, it really doesn't matter if you don't have like 75% vet status, and then, or yeah, vet numbers, and then some type of veteran teachers, it's gonna feel like a new program no matter what. You have different people working together. You have different personalities trying to work together to produce something. And it's not as simple as like, hey, here's the skill. Here are these skills that you all already know how to do. We're gonna clean it. Like, it's different. It's different skills that they're trying to teach. It's different emotion that they're trying to teach for that select group of students. So there was gonna be a learning curve no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I definitely felt like, because the percussion was the same team, because the brass was the same team, like, we were kind of holding it down. But the guard they were just in a position where it was like they were new. No matter what, it's not possible. They weren't gonna be at the same level as the percussion or the brass, just by way of everything being so new. But I do commend them, because I think by the end of it, they might have gotten either 4th or 5th in guard. And considering how many elements of that section was new, that's still something to be really proud of. Mm-hmm. Did I have the maturity to say that as a 22-year-old? No, because I was just pissed about getting 3rd again. But looking back at it, like, they really did work really hard. And there weren't even bad performers out there. It's just like, it's a different program. It's brand new. Like, you're gonna have growing pains. It's normal. Yeah.
Because if anyone knows anything about drum corps, Crown's known for their brass,
for the brass,
specifically
Crown brass,
and then
almost to their detriment. I know that's gonna be a hot take. Almost to their detriment. Yeah, there were times, especially in 2016, where I felt like, yo, the drumline literally can't play anything because the brass book is so dense.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, they're good. They're fucking good. But like, I know, again, I'm always gonna come back to, as an arranger now, as a creator now, you have to create pockets of space for each section to shine. Because like, if you're trying to win,
the way the show is built,
you gotta play the game. Yeah. You have to remember, at the end of the day, you're being judged to criteria. It's all sheets, it's all sub-captions, brass, percussion, guard, and all of the brass, percussion, guard, general effect, visual, and all of those you have subcategories.
What's general effect?
No, we're not talking about that. Don't even go there. General effect is this giant thing that has like 40% of your score, and almost has nothing, not almost, but sometimes has nothing to do with how well the students
It's just
perform.
what it makes you feel.
Yeah, what it makes you feel, how the props make you feel, how cool are the props, how integrated are the props, and it's just like, okay,
it's all subjective.
We're not.
Anyways,
my biggest qualm about general effect is we're not judging the students anymore. But that's neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there. Yeah. So yeah, like, what I was trying to say is, if you're trying to win, right, you got to play the game.
Yeah.
You got to play the game. So if you want to get a high score in percussion, you need to expose the percussion.
Yes.
If you want to get a high score in brass, you need to expose the brass.
Yeah, the show. Yeah,
Crown did very well with exposing the brass, because that was their strong point. But almost to the point where it's like, and I'll say it this way: we know Crown brass. We know how loud Crown brass was. The issue that arose with that, like that type of performance, is like, you have to play a certain way to play louder than them. Like on the drum line. The drum line, the maximum size of drum line. Oh, I need to not like throw away the front ensemble. But the maximum size for the drum line is gonna be, let's say, average size. It's gonna be 8 snare drums, 5 tenors, 5 bass drums, sometimes 4 tenors. So what is that? 18 people. 18 people versus like an 80-person brass line.
Of course.
And they're blasting music. They're blasting sounds at triple forte. Like, there's only so much you can play for the drumline notes to speak louder than that.
Forte means loud, by the way.
Yeah. And triple forte means loud.
You gotta explain these terms.
Yeah, sorry, guys. So you can imagine, like, hey, if we have 80 horn players blasting their ass off, you can't have dense music. Or maybe you can't imagine, but I will tell you, you can't have dense music from a drum line. You will never hear it.
Yeah.
So anything that's fast, basically, you can think of it this way. You can play, if you play high, there's a specific speed that you can play.
Yeah.
Any faster you want to go, right, it brings your volume down. So if you're trying to have dense music, you can only play so loud.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up having this issue of like, oh yeah, we're clean as shit, but our music is easier in comparison to these other groups.
Yeah.
And almost the same problem with the front ensemble. Our music is comparatively easier to these other groups. So it's like, it really didn't matter. It really didn't matter what we played. Because the brass section was so strong and because they were exposed so much, we would never be given the credit that we deserve.
The shows were always designed for the brass to shine and then everyone else to be, you're just there.
Everyone else's support. Yeah. Which you can't really do that. If you're trying to win, you can't really do that.
Hell no.
So yeah, I mean
But then it didn't always used to be like that. Like, I guess, well now, I mean, if you're still into Crown and whatnot, or do you want to talk about older Crown?
I know nothing about older Crown. I wasn't even like into Crown, Carolina Crown. I wasn't into them until I was asked to march for them. Like, I was very much into Bluecoats. I was very much into Cadets. To the point where like I hadn't auditioned for Carolina Crown. I auditioned for Bluecoats 2 years in a row.
Cadets don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they don't exist. I had auditioned for Bluecoats in 2016. Yeah, for the 2016 season. I didn't make it. I was real close. I made it to the January camp. I made it to January camp. Final callback camp. But I wasn't able to make the cut. And then because of the work that I had done at Cadets Winter Percussion, CWP, one of the indoor groups, I had shown, maybe I didn't show, but like the director of that group saw that I was someone that was dedicated and was gonna put in the work last minute. So basically, with that group, it's a very similar situation. I got pulled into Cadets Winter Percussion in 2016. Mm-hmm. Yes, that was my second experience. That was my second experience for indoor percussion, but I actually wasn't even supposed to march that season. All right, we back in it.
Yeah.
All right, so yes, we were talking about indoor. Basically, I was talking about my transition from indoor to Crown. Yes, again, for you guys listening, I'm sorry. I go on tangents. This is me. This is the way I converse with people.
That's cool.
That's just how my brain works.
Tangents are fun.
So
gives more to talk.
2016 was my second year for doing indoor percussion. I had auditioned for Cadets Winter Percussion for that 2016 season, but my parents were like, "You're not doing this. Your grades are not good enough, and we don't have money, so you're not doing this."
Oh, your grades are suffering?
I think, what was I in college? It might not have been a grade thing, but I think it was definitely a money thing. I had done 2 auditions with Cadets Winter Percussion, and I was like very adamant about doing the program, but then I didn't end up continuing the audition process, so I wasn't able to do the ensemble. However, there was some drama that they were having around like January, February, and I was getting in contact with some of the members / staff there, and they were talking about like, moving people around. Like there was a person that was on the bass line, the bass drum line, that got switched to playing snare drum. Because he had got cut. It's so convoluted. He had got cut from snare drum because I think they just had too many people. But then because this drama that was happening with one individual, they removed the individual from the snare line. They took that bass drum player who was actually a snare drummer. They put him on snare drum, and so they had a vacancy for bass drum. And so it was February, And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in this. Like they reached out to me again. I was like, yeah, I'm interested in this. And so I had a couple weeks. I think I had like 2 weeks to just learn as much music as possible and learn as much of the exercise as possible. And then I came in the weekend. It was the weekend of my birthday, around February 28th. I had came in. I was immediately overwhelmed. I was like, yo, this is hard as fuck, because there was no ease into the thing. They're already February 28th means they have all of March left, and then they have like 1 or 2 weeks in April left. So basically 6 weeks left. And so it's just like, hey, we don't really care what experience you had. If you're gonna fill this role, you got to be able to do this. So they threw me in. There was like minimal introduction, like, hey, this is who I am, and then we're just like, okay, we have to rehearse. Yeah. So we're playing like warm-ups. We're going into subs. We're bettering the music, not learning the music, but bettering the music with me in the mix. They're working on new drill adjustments. They're working on adding body to the drill. And that was like my first experience of trying to do choreography, like moving and playing at a high level. So I'm just there like, yo, this is hard fuck. Yeah. I'm just trying to hold on for dear life. Thankfully, I was able to hold my own, but I still felt like definitely uncomfortable by just like how integrated everything was. It was just a new level of integration for me that I wasn't really ready for. Okay, I remember where the story's going. But yeah, so I ended up getting that spot mid-season, basically. That staff had spoke to me, they reached out to me, seeing if I was interested in the spot that was open. I showed them, yes, I can work. I have the work ethic to fill this spot, and I fit the mold for what you're looking for.
So the reason why
this is important,
2016.
Yes, the reason why this is important because I didn't audition for Crown. I didn't audition for Crown in 2016. I auditioned for Bluecoats, and then it was a similar situation when they got to like right before move-ins for Crown. So April, they had their final audition camp, and it so happened that one of the bass drummers, he got accepted for an internship. Like real life internship. So he's just like, okay, like this drum corps thing, like it's not important. This has nothing to do with my real life.
Priorities.
Priorities, of course. He chooses to do the internship, but now Crown is left with a bass vacancy. And so they had asked me, I think they most likely had asked other people, but they had asked me, and it was the same person, Travis Peterman. Shout out to Travis, really changed my life with these like two choices. He reached out to me and was like, hey, would you be interested in this vacancy? And I was like, hell yes. Hell yeah. This is Carolina Crown we're talking about. This is a top 3 drum corps. Why would I not be interested? So another situation where it's like, okay, I have a couple weeks to learn as much music as possible, learn as much of the exercise as possible. So it's just like replicating the situation I had at Cadets Winter Percussion and then doing it again 2 months later.
I have something to say about that.
Yes. What?
So before then, before joining Crown, you okay. I'm putting more. I'm not saying more words in your mouth, but these are things you definitely did talk about.
No.
You did shit on Crown Percussion.
Yeah.
Before then.
Yeah.
But then,
and I won't say names. I didn't like the writing. I mean, no, I've had this conversation with multiple people. I still
but yes, at the time,
like the writing.
Crown's
even when I was
Percussion,
there.
yeah, they weren't too hot.
No, dude. The problem was they played fine. They weren't even dirty. It's just the music was not. It wasn't it. The music, like if you isolated just the drumline beats, the music wasn't it. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Like it fell flat, dude.
Hey.
It didn't bring the right fire. It didn't bring the right energy to the ensemble. And again, like this is where it gets really annoying for Crown because it's like they had no choice.
Yeah.
The way that the brass wrote, they had no choice. Like I would say, I had this conversation with, I think it was you and then another one of our boys. The only way they would be able to change that is if the design team literally sat down and were like, okay, how do we change our structure? How do we change the way that we design these shows so that all of the sections have a voice? Because there were a lot of changes through Crown, like the way that the Crown percussion section came through the music from 2016 through 2019. 2019 being like their most successful year for that specific design team. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of changes and a lot of growth and evolution, but that whole time, the brass arranger never changed the way he wrote. It was still like the same. It wasn't like a template thing, but it's like, hey, the brass is still like the brass is a melodic element of it. They're the ones that's gonna portray what the musical idea of the show is, and then the drums is just like, okay, whenever you have percussion feature, this is your time to shine. So they did. By the time it got to 2019, yes, the percussion was more exposed in percussion features, but the brass book was still pretty heavy. It was still pretty hefty.
Again, it's going back to that point where Crown's just known for their brass.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, it's like if you have something you're good at, like this is the one thing that really
you want to capitalize
through.
on your strong points.
Capitalize, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that a short statement. Exactly. So, in hindsight, I really don't have qualms. Like unless you were really trying to do soul searching and sit down and revamp how the entire program was written, there was not really going to be any changes to be made about how the show was designed and on how everything ended up being scored at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yes.
But yes.
You also I was not a fan.
Yes.
I was not a fan. I can say that confidently now. If anyone asks me, like, I'll go into details. I was not a fan of the battery, not the percussion writing per se, but the battery writing per se. For the times that I was there, 16, 17,
which is drumline.
I didn't have a good time playing. Yeah, which is drumline. Thank you.
Yes.
Which is drumline. I didn't have a good time playing that music. I enjoyed the summer. I enjoyed learning it. It was a challenge. It was music that I was not prepared. Like, the type of writing was something I wasn't prepared for. But having to play that music over and over again for 90 days, I was not a fan.
But also, I guess you were finally with a world-class performing group.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna complain about that.
Of course. If I had an opportunity, even like, I was a BD fan, so like Blue Devils, which, but like, hey, if I had an opportunity to something like that for a core I never even considered, I'd fucking take it too.
Of course.
Shit, why the fuck not?
Of course, man.
You'd be stupid not to do that.
It's like, I didn't audition for this group. I don't want to do that. It's like, no. Like,
I'm like, hell
this
no,
is performing at the highest level possible with people that are the same or better than you as a musician. Like, of course,
why the fuck not? I would take that opportunity.
Yeah. But then, I auditioned again for Bluecoats in 2017 because I didn't really like the music. It really just came down to that. I didn't really like the music, so I auditioned again for Bluecoats in 2017. I think I had done one. It might have been one or two auditions. I think it was two. I'd done two auditions, and when we got to the second audition, like I had to have a heart-to-heart with the bass tech there. It was Tommy Rome. I don't really know what he's doing now, but he was definitely like he's rolling. He's rolling. Nah, he's one of those people that like you look up to, just in terms of like they've done it at the highest level, and I just respected him a bunch. So he had a heart-to-heart with me. He was like, "Hey, I get that you like this ensemble, but like you are already at Crown, and if you decide to go through with this audition, like I'm gonna be cutting ties with those people. Like I'm saying, like, hey, I care more about this experience than I do the time that I spent with Crown." And I took that to heart. I almost continued auditioning for Bluecoats. I'm happy that I didn't, because that season, the Jagged Line, that show was not their best show. I know I would have liked the music at the end of the day, but like overall, I would have had some complaints about it. But I made the decision. I was like, okay, I have this experience with Crown. I don't really know what I'm going to be doing in the future, but I was still geared towards music education. So it just made more sense to not burn the bridges that I had connecting with the Crown staff and then the Crown design team. Mm-hmm. So I decided to stay. In 2017, and then I finished my tenure at Crown 2017. Yeah. And then I ended up working there afterwards for a couple years. I think 2018, 2019.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
2 seasons working there. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that, but I will keep that short. Why I was able to work there was solely because of the skill. maturity wise, I was not ready to teach. And if I had known that, I probably would have told him like, hey, yeah, I'm thankful for the opportunity, but I am not the right person for this.
Would you have gone elsewhere or just not taught at all?
I probably would not have taught at all.
Okay.
I think I'm very thankful for my opportunity to work with Crown. I'm very thankful for the stuff that I learned with the mistakes that I made for Crown. Like honestly, the biggest mistake I made, it was 2 years in a row. I would always change music. Like I would be the type of person that would be like, okay, like, cause I remembered my experience as a
change without asking.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
damn.
yes. So I remembered my experience as a bass drummer.
Yeah. And
just being bored and just knowing that like I was capable of much more.
Yeah.
And seeing the students the next year, like, oh my gosh, these kids are so much more capable. I had enough understanding of music composition to where it's like I wasn't changing music to the point where it's like it didn't fit with the other elements. Like it was still the same stuff. It was just like it was just making it a little bit more enjoyable from the student's perspective, like a little more fun to play. But the essence of the part was the same. It's like if you're singing a part, like if you're singing a song, all I want for Christmas is you, like everyone knows that melody. At some point you might get bored, but you might be like, okay, I'm gonna do it in harmony. All I want for Christmas is you, some bullshit like that. So like the essence is there, but the details of the music got changed a little bit. And I thought that was no big deal. Because I'm just like, hey, I'm just trying to have fun.
Even
the kids
someone who doesn't do shit like that, I know that's a big fucking deal.
Yeah. I mean, now I know. I know. As a composer myself, literally, it's a little different for me.
So,
because I'm okay with. I'm okay. When people change my music, there are two ways that I go about it. Number one, I immediately talk to them. I was like, okay, I see you change something. And I listen to it, I'm like, okay, does this change or has this changed the entire essence of the music? If the answer is no, and it just like makes it a little bit more intriguing or enjoyable, I usually just let it sit. But if it changes the flow, if it changes like what the actual part is trying to say, then I usually stop them in their tracks. I'm like, hey, we can't make this change because it changes how it feels. It changes how other people are hearing it. We can't do this.
But sometimes it's gotta happen. Like if a part's too hard, you gotta water that.
Yeah, you have to water it down. But that's not what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to water anything. I was trying to make things a little more challenging, a little bit more fun. So that was happening for 2 years.
And did the arranger ever catch you?
They've caught me pretty much every time. I mean, there were some times where they let it slip and they didn't really make it like a big deal.
Yeah.
But there were two instances where it wasn't the arranger himself, it was the person directly under him, Travis Peterman. He had pulled me aside and on two specific occasions, like, yo, you can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like this is not fair. Like, yo, shout out to Tom Hannum because he could have just reamed me out. Like he could have been like, yo, who the fuck do you think you are changing my music? Like I spent mad time putting this stuff together. Like I'm a 22-year-old. He's I don't know how old he was, but he's a seasoned veteran. He had been doing drum corps since the 80s. Like what the fuck do I know about music composition, especially music composition for drum corps, to where I can adjust music like that. So yeah, that was my experience as a teacher. Like those are things that I should not have done. But I don't regret, sadly, I don't regret doing it because those little changes that I made, that was me like getting my compositional voice. That was me literally saying like, hey, I don't like how this is done and I would do it differently. Maybe not better, but I would do it differently. And so I was just branching out, like trying to learn like, okay, how would I compose as a drum corps arranger? What would I write?
So you always want to be a writer?
I always did want to be a writer, yeah. So my writing, I guess that's a whole conversation, which I'm okay with talking about. My writing...
Now we'll keep it within right here. We won't veer off.
My writing... What am I trying to say?
You're right.
I started writing music, let's say when I was in high school. I think the first time where I really wrote music. Oh, okay. It started from transcriptions. So basically, transcription is you listen to something and then you write out the music that you hear, which requires you to have a decent amount of music notation, music theory knowledge, which I had enough of to make it work. So my writing stuff started by listening to drum corps, Blue Coats, Cadets, and doing transcriptions of that stuff. So I can learn how to play the drumline parts on my own, and send those transcriptions to friends, and we would play that stuff. From there wasn't really any like original writing done there, but like understanding how other seasoned writers put their stuff together and being able to actually see all that stuff on paper is made a huge difference to me as a composer. So I took that, and then I transitioned to my first experience writing actual music would have been like jazz band.
Yeah.
Because I was one of those people that didn't like, or maybe not didn't like, but I didn't have the knowledge to do improvisation. Improvisation was one of those things where like I just wasn't good at it.
Weren't most solos in jazz bands
Improv
in general? Yeah, it was, you make
so
your own
the
shit
way,
up.
Yeah, exactly. The way that it works in jazz bands, you see the chord changes. Well, I guess we'll talk specifically through high school jazz bands. You have the chord changes written in your music, and you're supposed to have a decent enough knowledge about chords and what notes to use in those chords. Now, I could have taken that and done it at a basic level, but I wasn't comfortable with that process. Like there was a book that my band director, Wayne Dillon, shout out to Wayne Dillon, that he had given us. It was a book on chord changes by Jamie Abersold, and everything was just over my head. I was just like, yo, I can't like understand this, because my music theory knowledge was just enough to be able to write music, but like I couldn't understand chords. Like I wasn't that great at piano. So it's just like, okay, if I'm gonna be doing improv, I would have to spend so much time trying to understand all this new knowledge. And I honestly wasn't about that. So I took the easier route, and I wrote, I half wrote my solos. So I would write lines, and then I would leave specific pockets in the solos empty. So it'd still feel like I was improvising, and everything would flow well, but I still had these very concrete spots in the solos where it's like, oh, I knew what I was gonna play. From there, I did this program called Destination Imagination when I was either a senior or a junior. And in that program, basically it's like a team building thing where it's like you get this prompt and you have to create something based on the prompt. I don't want to go into too many details because it was like there were like 4 different aspects to it, and then there's different ways to create for each of those aspects. So it's very convoluted. But if you want to know more about Destination Imagination, is now called Odyssey. It's an educational experience. It's more about collaboration. It's more about team building and creating stuff in a team. But within that program, we were just trying to build on all the skills that individually we had. So my friends and people that I work with, they knew that I was a musician. So they allowed me to play trombone for our project. And I was able to write a tune that was the overall gist of the tune was, hey, here's this melody, and then throughout the entire I'm gonna call it play. Throughout the entire play that we were performing, notes would fall out of the melody, which would coincide with another character that we had in our play. It was like this wizard. He was the main character, and every time he would get defeated or lose something, the music would change. So basically, like how we talked about like dynamic music in video games, there was something that changed in the character, that wizard, and then the music that was behind him, the music that supported that character, was also supporting those changes. So that was my next opportunity to be a composer, and then from there, it was just like little little small opportunities to write and adjust music. When I went to college for music education, but I very much so enjoyed my music theory classes and like the music composition classes that we had to do when we were learning about these programs called Finale, Sibelius, all music notation programs. Because a music educator, you have to have like at least a basic knowledge of those things because you're going to use them as a teacher, or a lot of times you use them as a teacher. And then at the same time, while I was in college, I had the opportunity to work with my high school drumline. So I was adjusting music there, making like stand tunes and just more opportunities to write music there. And just kept doing that for a couple of years, and then
you said making changes during the drumline.
Yeah.
Did you ask?
No. Yes. So no, I didn't. And I think that was the same time. No, it was like right before the Crown stuff. So when I wasn't asking, that time was around 2014, 2015. 2014, 2015. Yeah. And I know that teacher was not a fan of it.
Yeah.
That we did speak about. But clearly I didn't learn my lesson because I did it again in 2016, 2017. But at a different level. But again, like I was just trying to find my voice. I didn't have an opportunity to write for drum lines on my own. Well, granted, maybe I wasn't looking for it. Maybe I wasn't like being actively looking for that stuff, which I should have in hindsight. But I was trying to enjoy music, man. Enjoy writing music and enjoy creating stuff that I felt like was gonna be a good product to put out there. But the first time that I was able to have like
full control
of what was being written was 2017 with Elizabeth High School Drumline, one of the groups that I had worked with. I was finally able to write all the battery stuff with the assistance of one of my colleagues, Jaquan Sessoms. We still work together to this day, still with Elizabeth High School, which is a much stronger program now. But we've basically been building that program since that time, 2014, all the way up till now. And yeah, I've been consistently writing the music since 2017. There was only 2 seasons where I didn't write the music because I was not involved with the group. It was the COVID season, 2020, and then no, that's not true. It was 2021, and then 2022. I was not involved with the group for those 2 years, but I came back in 2023. Oh, I'm lying. I am lying. It was the COVID season, 2020 and 2021. I wasn't involved with the group for those 2 years, but I came back in 2022 and been working with them ever since. So now, like that is the program that I hold close to my heart. I do have full control of how the music is written. I do sound design. I write the battery music and I write the front ensemble music. So the whole percussion package plus the sound design. And yeah, I wouldn't have the level of comfort that I have to do all that stuff if it wasn't for the experiences I had adjusting music, from that 2014, 15, 16, 17, those years. Don't get me wrong, I went about it the wrong way.
Yeah, you could have easily got fired.
I could have got fired. Yeah, I could have got fired. I could have got burned. They could have been like, yo, who the fuck do you think you are?
Yeah.
Like, stop doing this shit. But I think at the end of the day, those individuals saw, like, I wasn't trying to overstep.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to say, oh, I can do this better. Like, I really was just trying to give the students and myself an opportunity to do something a little more creative and something that was fitting their specific skill level. Especially for the high school stuff. Like, literally the main reason I changed the high school stuff is because the person that was doing the music, like, he wrote the entire show. Which is already an amazing feat in and of itself, but to challenge the students in a way where it has a lasting impression, it requires a lot of time. Like, you have to spend a lot of time writing the music, and you have to know the students very well to know what skills they know, what skills is like slightly above their skill level. And nothing against him, I don't think he just wasn't able to put in that time. and it had nothing to do with work ethic. He's a great arranger, much faster than I could ever be. But he had a family. Like, he had a family, he had a wife, he had a kid. So when you have your own personal life like that, like, you can only give so much energy into like these projects that you're doing. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is just a paycheck.
Plus, it wouldn't be the only group.
Exactly, it wasn't the only group that he was writing for. Yeah, the difference between me and him, in terms of like how much energy I put into this program, Elizabeth, is like right now. That's the only program that I write for, like, fully. It used to be different. I used to write for 2 programs, or I used to write for Tenafly, also in New Jersey, where I did the full design package. I just recently left that group, which creates a lot more time for me. But now it's just this one group, so I can devote my time and energy to be creative and offer the students a package that's going to challenge them, and they're going to enjoy playing for months on end. So yeah, I think all those things are important. I know by the time I have my own like full-fledged life with a wife and children, I'm probably not gonna think the same way. I'm probably just gonna be like, okay, I have to get this project done, and I need to be able to prioritize my own family. I'm hoping, my biggest hope is that by the time that happens, I've perfected my workflow so well that it wouldn't require too much thinking to still provide a solid project for those students. Because I don't want to ever get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm just doing this for the money. I'm just doing this to give them the thing, and then I'm hands off. Like, that's not why I write music. So I'm just hoping that in the years now where I'm still single and not having to worry about any of that stuff, I can work on workflow and just getting used to prioritizing the needs of the students and just doing all that stuff faster, so it never goes away.
All right, I think that's a good place to wrap up for now.
Oh, we wrapping up?
Yeah.
All right, we spent a lot of time talking about music. I'm gonna be honest, I knew this was I knew it was coming.
There's still a lot of we're leaving out, but
yeah.
I feel like,
we can talk about another time.
It's
for sure.
I think it's a good place to end it for now.
Yeah.
There's a lot more stories, which definitely future episodes and whatnot.
All
right, you're free to plug whatever you want.
Yeah, plug in. So the only thing that I want to plug, I can plug my YouTube channel. I don't know the actual
Everything will be in the
name
description.
Of the channel. Yeah, we'll take care of that later. I don't know the actual name of the channel, but if you want to look up Aaron Alcine on YouTube, you can go there. I really have no idea what I post at that point, but I know at some point in the future, I will be going back to posting music, whether that's like marching band stuff or whether that's actual like pop music, which we'll talk about in another. We'll talk about that in another podcast too. But if you go to that channel, you'll see an associated channel. It's called BZI. Check that out. Like, subscribe there. I have a couple songs out, pop songs, that I'm really proud of putting that stuff out there. And hopefully I will be back to producing and creating more of that type of music relatively soon. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Can't even cross my fingers. There we go. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. All the YouTube stuff.
We'll have
like, comment, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe.
Share,
to
whatever.
Falling Flat Podcast.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks
It's
for having me,
bro.
All right.
This has been Falling Flat.
All
right.
Peace.